Okay, we are recording. Okay. Let's see. We any meaningful takeaways, any nuggets or anything you want to share?
I need to open my document.
I can start. I just found that something that was kind of meaningful to me, and it's I'm just lumping it all together. It's just the attitude of being positive, a positive thinker, but looking at everybody and everything positively. And it's reflected on me many times where I've got a son right now trying to make a decision in his life. It's a career change, and he's made it. And my husband and I are like, well, he's learning this, and oh, he's got to do this. And as I'm going through all of that, I'm going, am I being a positive thinker? Because this is positive. This is good. Change is good, even if it's going to be hard. This is really good. And it's helped realign my focus. And I was appreciative of that. I was able to apply it. And I like when I can learn something and apply it and make a difference. Anybody else?
That's great. I'm taking notes, so I'll just go real quick. Um, I like what somebody said, life is better seen through the lens of optimism and positivity. And sometimes, we are just stressed out or short-tempered or, just stress. I guess stress is a lot of what brings people down or in conflict. But we should just keep a positive view so the spirit can help us, view the world in a better light and try to, you know, count our blessings, do our best. And just I think that was a great approach.
Mhm. Um, Along those lines, I really liked where it says, life inflicts the same setbacks and tragedies on the optimist as on the pessimist, but the optimist weathers them better. Um, so in my job, I teach health um, in elementary and middle schools. And one of our programs that we do this time of the year is a resiliency program. So we're teaching the grade fives how to be resilient and teaching them what it is, how to develop it. And so um, just some of these quotes and some of the information this week. Um, Talking about your perception of what you're going through can really propel you or hold you back when you're going through difficulty. So it was just a cool kind of reflection of what's going on in my life as well as like what I'm learning about in school. So that's kind of cool for me. Ow. Sorry.
That's very
I,
cat.
I
Go
must
away now.
I must admit, as a young mom many years ago, probably about 20 years or more, there was a parenting class they offered through the school district, and it was all based on Stephen R. Covey's Seven Habits for Highly Effective Seven. Yeah, I think that's right, for highly effective families. And I my nugget was about the bank account to keep a positive balance. More
Yeah.
money must be deposited than withdrawn. We make deposits in our relationships with our children when we encourage, praise, and show them how much we care. If we make enough deposits, our emotional bank account won't be overdrawn, and our relationship will be healthy and positive one. And I remember I'm like, wow, I need that every year. Like we get the lessons on faith. I should have that lesson. Just to remember to positive reinforce them. So
Yeah, we do that also with marriages. When couples don't get along together, we're trying to tell them like deposit something, try to be positive towards the other one. That's a
yeah.
nice tool. Actually, I had the same nugget than Carly, because this week I went to the hospital a few times and they found something on my liver. So it might be a cancer, but we don't know yet. And I was trying to be optimistic, but it was really hard. So even my kids started to cry, my wife too, and everything. So we still don't know yet what's going to happen, but I'm trying to be positive and just like take the books that we bought and, you know, so but the good thing is like it changes my life because I have to work out more and I need to eat better. So it's
Oh,
a good
wow.
thing.
That would be hard, but yeah, if you have a positive attitude, that's, a lot of the battles already won. And thank goodness the liver can be rejuvenated, can be healed. It's not like, did you say
Not
it was,
like a pancreas,
yeah.
Right.
like you
Yeah,
say.
well, I will say you are getting hit from every angle by the sounds of it, but maintaining that positive attitude does make a difference. All right, we'll keep moving on unless somebody has a nugget they want to share that I don't want to skip anybody.
I think
Okay.
all did it, but really, maybe. Oh no, really did it, right?
I missed that. I'm sorry. Say that again.
I think Lily said something I'm not sure, but Johnny said it, Carly, and I we shared the nugget, so I'm not really having time to.
I think we all shared a nugget. Okay, so the next one is about share your ideas for mobilizing a community effort to develop assets in children and youth. Um, and that came with the I that's the chart. Says use the table below as a means to capture your ideas for building a developmental asset in children or youth. Consider a plan for mobilizing your community in an effort to build this developmental asset in your community. Be prepared to share your ideas and simple plan as you capture in the table below during your weekly Zoom meeting. So does anybody want to share theirs?
So what I understood is that we're supposed to be thinking like if we're gonna do a pre-kindergarten, right? And so like what of the 40 developmental assets mobilizing your community would you do? So that's it, right? The first thing?
Mine does not say pre-kindergarten anywhere. Did somebody else get that? It did have it in different groups. I know I printed off that chart because they had it sectioned off with different age groups. And I chose the oldest kids, I think it's like 16 through 18 or 14 through 18 or something like that. So you might have looked at the younger group
Actually,
with
the
the,
is in the second chart. So the 40 model. So in the primer, there was two charts that we were supposed to develop. And the
Yep.
second one was the preschool. So that first one is the one that you're thinking we should discuss first.
yes. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And also with the second chart, it was the preschool or an online family coaching. So there was an option, you could go one or the other. Yeah, let's go really quick with the 40 developmental assets. Any,
I talked about high expectations, boundaries and expectations. Let the children know that they are very capable and they can perform their best of their abilities. Mobilizing the community, inspire them to understand that they have great potential. They can be their own agents, to have a desire to do better. In relationship, what does it say? What relationship will you mature and expand? So I lumped there my calling from the Relief Society, although I can expand those relationships with sisters. How will you ensure that everybody has a friend? I put in the Relief Society, in ministering program, at work with the children, with respect and helping each other do their best, and at home with my children and husband, getting ready, doing dinner and games. What resources will you need and how will you gather them? Support from the Relief Society leaders, at work with charts and lists, and at home, correlating the calendar. And because everybody has their own different activities, right?
Mhm.
And how will you compose a team in the needed skill? And you'll need a team that can open doors and promote activities. So it says the Relief Society presidency is my team at church. At school, I can enlist children's parents. And the grade teachers are also involved in making reading a priority. And at home, I can organize family and family home evening, family councils. And how will you sustain your interest? I said we get better, find better results. We can look to the past and see where we have made progress so that we want to continue with our efforts in these areas. And I put a typo there, so. Okay, so I took all that time to explain mine.
That's okay. I'll share mine.
Okay.
So it's kind of interesting. I've already mentioned my work, but we haven't talked. I'd never learned about the 40 developmental assets before. But reading through them and reading all this stuff this week, I'm like, we do this at work. Like this section of the primer was like not really an issue or wasn't difficult for me because it's something that I'm just working on at work. So the asset category that I wanted to work on was empowerment for the youth. With the focusing on sorry, my dishwasher's going.
We can't hear it, so you're just fine.
Okay. So the asset I would build is empathy. So for building it, we would practice things like active listening, acknowledging our emotions, checking in on each other, checking in on ourselves, sharing, being comfortable sharing our thoughts and our feelings with other people, and mobilizing the community, I guess, using my connections that I have in my job position. So in the school district, but we also do a lot of work with community programs and government programs. We have a lot of professionals who can come in and help with those. Big into getting families involved and making it more of a community effort to kind of build these skills. So that's basically pretty much all that yeah. And then for like access or resources and stuff for like a meeting place and all those things, we kind of have those already in my position, so I would utilize those. Sorry?
What was your asset?
So I
see.
chose, the category was empowerment and the asset was empathy.
Thank you.
Yeah. So yeah, that was just a little rundown of what I did for my end.
I did, my asset was planning and decision making. I also worked more with the older youth. The asset category was social competencies. And basically it was just to help give youth the opportunity to make decisions, allow them that growing real life skill, give them leadership roles and decision-making authority. So, hey, you're going to have to make something, make it happen and stuff. Again, that's what we do at my work, although I'm not as involved with the ASB, that's the student government. I still help support it. So anyway, relationships you will nurture and expand would be working together with church leaders, education, and of course, kind of supporting, having a community network where we might reach out to those that can provide mentorships, depending on the children's interests and things. I just would encourage them to have a mentor, offer opportunities where they can make decisions and lead, and then have those success stories. And then build, it says that there at the bottom, how we sustain the interest and support your effort in the long term. And I was like, it's going to be celebrating the successes. It'll boost that self-esteem and empower and propel things forward. That's in a nutshell. But anyway, Eric, did you have something you want to share?
Yeah, but it's for the source. It's not like yours less. My step was take a 15 minutes per day to listen to what children are feeling. And the category was constructive use of time. And the idea for building it was take a calendar and plan a time to listen one-on-one children and expressing gratitude to them, setting one topic to exchange with them.
Great. All right. Thanks, guys. Our next one is the AI 4D, which I think is confusing since we have AI, artificial intelligence, and now we've
Yep.
got this.
That was really confusing.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a confusion there. So did anybody, Lily, did you do the preschool based one?
Yes.
Did anybody else do the preschool based one?
I
I didn't either. Did you? Okay, right, Lily, let's hear what you got.
Okay, so in the discovery, I said, what will we do to take care of these children in a way that they want to learn, grow, share, and enjoy learning? In the dream part, I said using imagination because children like stories, puppets, role playing. Design, have an age appropriate books, puppets, balls, blocks, and healthy snacks. And destiny, preschool children are children of God who are needing to learn from loving adults other than their parents. They can become more loving, responsible adults. And AI principles, construction principles. Words can create worlds, help children grow their vocabulary. Simultaneity principle, allow them to ask many questions so that they can expand their curiosity. Poetic principle, there is only a few hours of preschool, but children can choose what they want to learn and study because they want, that way they will remember and be more engaged. Anticipatory principle, as we let children know the best is yet to come, they will be hopeful for the future instead of fearful. Positive principle, children are growing physically and they can grow intellectually even with a few hours of preschool when activities are well planned and focused.
Okay. Did anybody maybe I misunderstood. Because it's first as an individual and then as a design team of social. And so I had answers for individual and then answers for team. I don't know if anybody else did that. And some of them were the exact same, like, okay, I do this as a team as well as
Oh.
for an individual. But Carly, you want to share what you put together for the online family
Yeah.
coaching?
So for the discovery, I put that having conversations with parents who've used resources and different tools in the past for this kind of thing, seeing what their experiences were like, the positive things, of course, that they experienced. So the questions I had was what worked well, which pieces left you wanting more because it was interesting or you were starting to see work in your family, focusing on all the positive things for that part. For the dream, I put that ask parents what they think could be a benefit moving forward using what has been successful and then also brainstorming and building on those ideas and resources to accomplish more. So kind of taking what they have and just branching out a little bit using that brainstorming where you don't shoot down any ideas kind of thing. For the design, obviously still include the resources that we're working, and then implement the things that they were looking for using local, provincial, and national resources that families have access to. I mentioned on there that they would need to be backed by science and by professionals in the coaching field. And then the destiny, finding coaching professionals to be involved in the program is essential to deliver and implement what the families are needing. Families will have access to not only the online resources, but also virtual meetings with professionals to help guide them. And for the AI principles, I actually didn't write anything because I didn't know what to write. So
Eric,
I left
do
it
you
blank.
do you have anything you want to add to what Carly did?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing,
Yeah.
except that AI principles I added subjective is subjective conversation and language. But I stayed general on that, so I didn't know. I think I didn't understand how to answer these questions. So I was
Well,
just putting into my own words what I understood, but that's all.
okay. I'll go through what I did on the team because I feel, Carly, like you did everything from an individual aspect, or at least that's what I wrote down is
Yeah.
more like that.
Mm.
So as a team, we would come together, share success stories, identify what's working in the areas where we can be creative in a changing things. So we would come together as a team and look not at the wow, we're failing, but more at the wow, we're succeeding, and how did you succeed, and how can we implement it in somebody else's clientele. Brainstorm ideas. Yep. Imagine how far you could reach. That was something that I was like, dream, think of the possibilities, because sometimes that motivates you and gets you excited in your job, your work. It's just how far can you reach? Discuss ways to make coaching more interactive and engaging. Um, and then come together and develop coaching models. This is my design. Create workshops or blogs or other like digital options that so you can be more far reaching and maybe reach different types of people. Look for possible partnerships with schools and community services, and then come up with a business model. You're going to have sustainability and affordability. And so that could all be part of design, is how are you going to maintain your business? Um, and you can tell I'm a business major. And so I think business. um, as a team, how do we sustain it? Well, part of it is we make ourselves accountable by giving each other assignments and looking for ways. We can create pilot coaching programs where maybe we're going to tweak something, but we're not confident how well it'll work, so we pilot it. And then, of course, we're asking for feedback from our clients and testimonials from everybody that we come up with. Now, as the AI principles, I put, I would be mindful to focus on strengths, possibilities, and solutions rather than the problems. Simultaneity, is that how you say that? Principle. Start the conversation with clients that talks about their strengths and their past successes, because obviously they're coming to you because they're not feeling that, but see if you can just bring about that and work where they are. Poetic principle, keep the focus on uplifting and successful stories. Shift away from trying to fix them. And that was something we read about. I tend to want to solve, I'm a problem solver. I want to go solve your problems, but to shift away from that and allow them, it's true as they speak, they end up fixing their own problem as they're talking about their successes a lot of times. Dream big, go big or go home. Just imagine that anticipatory principle is just imagine how many you're going to reach. Don't get bogged down because maybe it's not going as smooth as you'd like it to go with one or two families. Keep going, and then celebrate. The positive principle is celebrate small wins, their win. So that's how I answered those. I don't know if that's helpful or correct or right or wrong. I don't know. But let's see, where are we at? 6:35. We're doing pretty good, I think. As a design team, use the philosophies and tools of an appreciative inquiry to promote positive change in a nature preschool or an online coaching business. Okay, discuss the action steps you would take to turn your dreams to destiny. What action steps would you guys recommend? Any action steps? I'm not a business starter. I'm more of a good employee.
Same.
And so I want to be hired and then I can go in and I go to town. But I'm not one to probably start a business. And I feel like that's kind of what they're discussing here is, how do you promote that? And if I were in with the team to get, and I'm going to toot my own horn a little bit right now, but I am the athletic director secretary. Okay. And we have, I don't know, 20 some odd sports that are played throughout the year at our high school. And I have been told I'm new at my position. I've been in my position just over a year now. And have been complimented on my ability to promote and bring together and make it feel like a community. And I will tell you that the only thing I really have done is I am positive and helpful. Um, instead of turning parents away, instead of saying, sorry, we can't help you, I look for ways to be able to help them achieve what they want for their child or for their student and things. And so I would say to something like this, if you want a positive feedback, you've got to start with yourself in that positive mode and make it so that people feel comfortable to approach you. And it has a domino effect. At least that's what I found. Anybody else?
I would say, if we're trying action steps to turn dreams into destiny, is first really focus on the need. If we don't know what the need is, then it's hard to know what to do. But let's say the need is for us to have this either online coaching or the preschool, right? So if we know that there are children who are not being served, we can offer the preschool. If we know that there's families that are not being served and have problems with teenagers or preteens, then we can offer that service. So first, I think the action step would be to recognize the need.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that comes as you have those conversations and you put the people right in the middle, right? When you're not driven by what could be, you're stopping and you're listening and you're having those conversations and involving someone's singing downstairs, all the stakeholders in every step of the process. Yeah.
I agree with all of that.
I think it's like a UX designer, they call it, right? They are always asking for the need of the client before starting to offer ideas and things like that. They want to know what the client wants first.
Yeah, the mentality has certainly changed. It used to be you wanted to convince the client what he wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
But now
now
we listen to them.
now it's no, because in business, again, they've talked about how shoppers are far more savvy now. They aren't don't want to be told. They want to tell. And you're right. You've got to listen to the problem and see what you can do to solve it. Let's see. Identify positive things in the industry. Let's see. How would you engage stakeholders? I think you've already, and employees in the process. I think we kind of mentioned that. Anybody got anything more you want to add to that? What specific actions will you take during each of the processes in the 4D cycle?
All I put for that one was conversations, conversations, conversation. Keep the communication open and honest, allowing everybody the opportunity to speak and to share and to um, let you know how things are going throughout the whole from start to finish and beyond.
Yeah, be very transparent. Yeah,
Mhm.
just very open, and open book. And I just said it very fancily about what you just said. So, but yeah, anybody else have something they want to add to that? What specific actions will you take to honor the tenets of AI as presented in 5 principles?
Instead,
Anything, any,
I said I will rely on science, positiveness, and ask positive questions.
yeah, I was all about the questions too.
Uh-huh.
What would an AI summit look like with your business?
As I understood, the summit's a big meeting.
Yeah.
So everybody who's involved would be invited to participate. And in our school, we did, or in our district, we did a meeting with the parents of the migrant children, and we had a big, pizza party, and we had a talks. I talked about my grandparents, how they were raised in poverty, but they actually learned a lot, just, third and fourth grade education, but because they were very interested in learning, they would find dictionaries and stuff like that, just to, to tell these migrant parents that their children are not less because, they come from poverty. They really can do it. So I think a summit should look like everybody's involved, everybody's invited. And then, like Carly said at the beginning, share success stories.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I realize I'm reading the wrong questions. I'm reading the ones from sorry about that, guys.
Okay.
They kind of go together. Let's
Yeah.
see. How would how and why do questions create? And what are the characteristics of great questions? I think of, and this kind of goes along with my religion class I've taken, that our topic this week was questions. And I think of Sherry Dew's talk, Worth the Wrestle, where she talks about asking questions and then are you ready to wrestle to find the answers? And I believe that as we ask questions, we can start off gentle, but then start to get into some proactive questions. It may be difficult to start off with that at the beginning, but just ease into it, and then you're able to get to the root of problems. But those questions can stimulate thought, action, and progress.
I
Anybody
think
else?
on the very basic level, like having those open-ended questions where it's not just yes, no answers. You want explanations and thoughts and feelings to come out. So giving people space to do that is really important.
Yeah.
It makes me think about a lot of these things. AI is makes me think about conflict management, the step to fix a conflict. I don't know if you read about that before, but it's listening, asking questions, be empathic, just trying to really listen to the person with you, and there's no wrong answers or bad answers. You're just like staring together until you get to a point where both parties are like really at the solution.
Yeah, I think there is a little difference though in
Yeah.
coaching versus like therapy, even though they're very much the same. Um, because I feel like, and I think of a team where a coach kind of gives you, hey, we're going to work together as a team. You follow through with this, you follow through with this, and together we're going to score. We're
Yeah.
going to win this game. And I see that more with coaching. I think therapy will be different and it's probably a little more intense. Um, but with this, it talks about that being the thing and looking for a positive outcome.
Yeah.
Let's see, how is AI different or the same as asset building? Anybody got something for that? to look here.
You didn't answer that one. We had to answer 4 of them, right?
Well, I'm looking at J. It says, yeah. Do we need to move on? We can move on. Listen, we still have 10 minutes. Give the team members opportunities to share any research, community resources, or information they prepared in the roles that may have not surfaced. Go for it, Carly.
Okay, I am the friendly challenger, so I'm here to challenge what you have learned this week. So, I was reading this afternoon about, let me just pull up my notes. AI. And initially reading it, I'm like, yes, like strength-based, that's great. Focus on the positives, like wonderful. And I hadn't really thought about how it could be not a great thing sometimes. So I was reading an article, and this is what the writer had to say. In a 2005 article, Gervais Bush and Anik F. Qasim discussed the results of a meta-case analysis of AI applications that found only 35% of the 20 cases studied resulted in transformational outcomes. While in all 20 cases, the practitioners followed the recommended appreciative inquiry principles, methods, and processes, Bush and Kassam conclude that 2 qualities of appreciative inquiry are necessary to achieving AI's transformative potential. A focus on changing how people think instead of what people do, and B, a focus on supporting self-organizing change processes that flow from new ideas. I don't understand that last one. So really the top part I found really interesting, that of the 20 cases that they studied, only 35% of them actually did something really great and changed people's minds and opinions and whatever they were going through. So I thought that was very interesting.
Do you think it was because they didn't want to change? What do you think or does
Well,
it say or indicate?
it
Because
doesn't say,
sometimes
but
people go because they're being dragged into
yeah.
therapy and they just don't care.
Yeah, well, I wondered, like, when at the bottom there, when it talks about the 2 qualities of inquiry that are necessary to achieving the transformative potential, the first one stood out to me, a focus on changing how people think instead of what people do. And so I think it's really easy to change the things that you do, especially when you're working with other people. It's like, I'll just go along with that. Let's just do it. But for AI to be truly transformative,
Transformative.
like you have to have that complete mindset change. And that's it's hard to change your mindset. Like that's a lot of work. And so I wonder if that's part of it, is people were more just like, okay, yeah, we'll go along with it, we'll do it, without really taking the time to deep dive and change their mindset about it.
I would
I don't
say
know.
that because human beings are really having a hard time. If I take myself personally, I'm really busy during the week, and I know a lot of people are busy. So you don't think about you being changed, or, you don't think about that. So we need practice. But the thing is, like, we need to focus on to plan during the day. Okay, I'm going to change this. I'm going to plan to have some time to think about it. But if you don't do that, like for example, the workshop that I'm doing uh, once for two weeks here for married couples, most of people forget about it. So I need to challenge them. I need to send some papers about what we've talked about. Uh, just ask them, or do an invitation to try something during the week, but just like really simple things. If it's too complicated, if it's too long, people forget about it and they don't do anything. They don't think.
I must admit, as I've been sitting here thinking about the number 35%, and letting it simmer in my head, the first part was, wow, that's really low. And then I thought, well, I served a mission and I served in Portugal 30 some odd years ago, but a long time ago. And if I had had 3 to 4 that converted to the gospel out of 10, I would have thought I was on top of the world and the coolest missionary
Yeah.
ever. And so if I look at it from that perspective, a little more positive perspective,
Hmm.
35% is pretty good. Um, you're talking about 3 to 4 people out of 10. But again, you're only talking about a third. But the Lord lost a third too. I mean, it's so interesting when you start looking at that number. That number can say so much,
Yeah.
and
Can.
and yet so little at the same time. But it is fascinating to realize I would have thought there would have been more success. I'm with
Hmm.
you.
Yeah.
But
So I want to point out one more thing with this. This is a really good article. I enjoyed it. Um, So I'm just going to read what he said. Perhaps the most potentially problematic dimension of appreciative inquiry's positive framing is that an AI process may be used in ways that reinforce and perpetuate racial or cultural bias, prejudice, and discrimination. By insisting that an inquiry, dialogue, or engagement process focus exclusively on positive questions, comments, and ideas, for example, the AI process can potentially be used intentionally or unintentionally, in ways that silence legitimate concerns and criticisms raised by the victims of bias, prejudice, and discrimination.
that is really deep.
Yeah. But like in my mind, I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Um, and especially like through my work, we don't always tell kids to focus on the positives, because if we're not focusing on the negatives or that our challenges, the things that we find difficult, it's hard for us to grow, right? And so reading that it can kind of have that kind of effect on marginalized groups who have all these struggles and their lives are built on these struggles, and they carry a lot of those struggles and the results of those things with them. Is it fair to kind of be like, well, push those aside. We're not going to talk about those.
We're gonna
We're going to focus on the good, just the good things when it's such a huge part of their lives.
It's interesting because I almost wonder, again, if they're using the program properly. Because if the program is used properly in that it's supposed to be positive based, but yet problem solving, you still have to discuss the problem. And so if they're
Yeah.
so busy not discussing the problem and saying, oh, we're going to be positive, then everything that was said is absolutely, they're on the wrong path. Because my kids have all faced, now granted, we're white Americans, okay? So we don't face, the only prejudice we faced, which by the way is kind of harsh sometimes, is being members of a church in a very liberal part of America. Um, but so when we've had an issue, we do talk about the issue, but we talk strategy on how we're going to overcome the issue and what's going to happen as we do. And that's positive thinking and building and discussion. That doesn't mean we pushed away what's going, no, that means we are discussing it and we're actively pursuing a better method. Some of it's backfired. It didn't work, and
Yeah.
some of it has set us up a little bit stronger. Um, so I wonder if the program isn't used properly, if
Mhm.
they, by not addressing anyway, those just thoughts popped in my
Yeah.
head.
Well, and I
I
wonder
think
too,
you're
like
right.
how much it varies between, I don't know who uses, like companies or people who are using AI. Like I imagine that aspect of it varies quite a bit. Like some people may draw from the negative aspects, like you say, and use that to propel themselves forward. Um, but I imagine there are also people who are like, no, we're not going to do it that way. There's like that leeway, and there's not like a clear standard for everybody to follow.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we have 4 minutes left. That was awesome. I liked that. I like having a little, well, I grew up with attorneys. My dad was an attorney. All my brothers are attorneys. I mean, I
Yeah.
like that. But anyway, anybody else want to add anything to our discussion?
I was just going to say that I think it was really interesting what Carly and you just said, Jen. I think we need a balance in life in everything. So you need to talk about, yeah, the problems. But if you're too positive, sometimes you're making kind of like a stonewalling, so people can't express themselves. So I think you were right on that. So I think it's just a balance. Just my thought.
Yeah, thank you, Eric. Thank you. Well, next week, who's gonna host?
I can be the host.
Okay. Scribe,
I can scribe.
challenger. I can do the challenger. Did you did the preacher though, didn't you, Eric?
Yeah, I
You
did
be
it.
the
So now,
challenger, I'll be the preacher.
perfect. I'll do that.
Okay. Sound good. Lily, did you get those assignments and the notes so we can send it out to everybody?
That. So host,
You're the host. Carly is the scribe.
Yep.
I'm the preacher. And
Yeah,
Eric's the challenger.
Yeah.
And guess
Doesn't
what?
mean
We
I'll do
weren't
the
booted out, so
final.
they must have fixed something.
okay, good.
Oh, wow. I was wondering too.
Yay.
Yeah. So I'm going to stop recording.
Excellent.